I'm ready.
All right, so this is the week 5 case study with Kenzie Long, Terry Beam, and Natasha Brooks. And I'll just kind of read the question 10 real quick. So we're responding to, first, do you think that parents of the other elementary schools have a valid case? And then the second question, what steps do you think the school board should take with regard to the parents' feedback? So, do anyone want to start or want me to start?
Well, I thought that the parents do have a valid case. When I looked in the reading, I guess it kind of talked something about that on page 66 in the book, in the resource management book, when it said that information about in counties where there's not, I guess, that much money, and I'm trying to not read verbatim, but just from memory, from reading, that the schools can set up like an educational foundation or something that everybody can donate to. And then if everybody donates to that, then the school board can kind of, I guess, divide or send the money out to the different schools within the district. I think the question is if the district had that set up, because if they didn't, then what do you do?
Right. I definitely think the parents have a valid case just from a fairness and equitability standpoint. And I think, Terry, you were talking about on page 61 where it was talking about
61 to 66.
Yes, the involvement of like PTOs and stuff. But the thing is, the book really didn't give any sort of suggestions or advice. They just said, school boards and administrators need to establish guidelines and policies in advance. So with that, I tried to look up for my school district, like any sort of policies that they had. And the only policy I could find is that any fundraising activities, by PTOs or booster clubs, their only restrictions is that they have to report a detailed, itemized list of their revenues each year that included like proof that their taxes filed. So I personally think it's wrong, but when I looked at my school board's policies, I don't think that there's anything to do.
I did the same thing. I agree with you. I also wrote that they do have a case. It's not equitable for the same reasons that you all said. But I also asked my bookkeeper when I met with her about the budget about our PTO, and she said that they are like their own entity, and whatever they raise is what they raise, and whatever they spend it on is what they spend it on. So, just like you were saying, the book does say that educational funds are the way to go, and that the school board should think of guidelines for what the fundraising should be used for. So I think that's what the school board should do, but I don't see that in practice in my own county. It's whatever they raise is what they raise, and they spend what they spend.
Right. Yeah. And that's how it is in Cleveland County. I think we have now everybody, if you plan on doing a fundraiser, the district has a fundraising I guess thing that you have to fill out. Your principal has to approve the fund, and this is across the board. Countywide, but you're responsible for your own money. Whatever comes into your school or whatever you're raising that money for, it goes into their budget. And there now, if it was not pre-tax, then the county taxes that. So you get, they have to pay a tax on it. Like for example, every time I do fundraising with volleyball, I have to, whatever fundraising thing I do, I have to get approval to do that fundraising from my administrator of the school that I work for. And then if whatever fundraiser we do, if it's not taxed, then they tax on that. But the money that they raise goes to whatever school that it goes into or whatever program it goes into. It does not go, it's not divided out through the county. You're responsible individually for whatever. And the school board does not have that. I think when they put the fundraising, protocol in place, then that was, their decision or kind of way to kind of discern what was coming in so that they, that money is accounted for, but it goes for whatever purpose or whatever school that it goes into. it does not get divided amongst the schools. So, and I'll say that we have one school that is seriously, it's our only elementary school that's year round, and so many people pour money into that school because it's probably one of the poorest schools in the county, but nobody else has access to that money or the different things that people pour into that school because it's specifically for that school. And we don't have people who are frustrated about it because I think too, maybe the parent pool in different places or in the community period, that they work really hard to make sure every school has what they need. But then also I think the county, because the county gets certain funds with technology and those pieces, when I was reading the technology piece, it doesn't really affect one school versus another. All, that money is already divided out amongst the schools anyway. So I don't know. I guess this school has to be a completely different demographic. I don't know.
Yeah. I mean, I definitely think they have a valid argument, especially, when I'm thinking about, fundraising in my school, it's usually more or less on the extracurricular side rather than like directly affecting the instructional piece. So, I see their argument. If they're going into middle school at a disadvantage because they didn't, get to use the technology and stuff. So I guess my suggestion to the school board, like in next steps, is that they don't have a policy for like that instructional piece. I would put something in because, I think I'm all for fundraising, especially since I know our school district doesn't give the schools any money for athletics or extracurricular events anymore. So we have to fundraise or they wouldn't exist. But, this is a little bit different because it directly impacts what's going on in the classroom. So I would think the school board would need to have some sort of, equability guideline in there at some point.
Yeah, I think it's tough. Sorry, go ahead, Terry.
You go ahead. I just had a follow-up question with her, but go ahead. I can remember it.
I was to say that was my only note about a difficulty that they might have if they took it to the school board court, because it said smart boards and projectors were what the other school had that they didn't, and I was wondering how much that would like significantly change students' learning, because I think that they are important, but I wonder if they would still win that case, like whether that's a big enough piece. Like I could see maybe if it was they bought like textbooks or novels or something, but I wonder if the board would say, oh yeah, they have a projector, you don't, that's not fair or equitable. That's the only thing that they might have to really prove, that it's significantly change that student's learning as opposed to their students.
I guess it would depend on how much the teachers use the smart board.
Right.
I mean, you can do a lot with those to enhance learning, but
it enhances, it doesn't, what you said was enhance. If it enhances the learning versus, taken away from, like, are they lacking good instruction by not having the smart boards and not having the other technology pieces?
Right. Earlier this semester, there was a case that we watched a YouTube video on Leandro in North Carolina, and they had found that student does need to have an equal opportunity to achieve, and that every district must give the resources necessary to adequately support those students and principals. So I think that might be a precedent that the parents could use if they weren't given that equal opportunity. But again, like you were saying, if you enhance the learning or completely transform the instruction, I think that's going to be the battle.
Okay, yeah, I agree with that piece. Now, I have a question, Kenzie, about, because you said that the district does no longer support the athletics. Do you guys have the pay to play stuff, or no? How do you guys do that if the district no longer supports athletics at the school?
There's a athletic fee, what they call it. It's $45, and every athlete that wants to play a sport has to pay that athletic fee of $45. Now, wow. There is a, I guess, waiver, like if you're on the free and reduced lunch program or whatever, that, if you apply for it, then they get, I guess, a booster or whatever to cover it. But yeah, every athlete has to pay $45. We don't get any money from from the district. So that when I read this case, it reminded me, because I feel like that's what I talked about all year, because from a coaching standpoint, I mean, I basically run everything through our booster club, which is essentially a PTO for athletics. And I mean, I have to keep a detailed list of where I spend everything, but I have never like even had a conversation with someone at the district level about how that money was spent and how I fundraised it, which I do have to get approved, like you said. You know, I can't just go out and, you know, sell cookies or something at Walmart. It has to be approved since we're, you know, representing the school. But as long as I can document where that money was spent, it's never been questioned.
Yeah, and I think that's the same thing. So then my thing is, so to just throw a little spin in there, is that I don't think, because there are some schools in our district who their booster club, they do more for their athletes than what, because I don't have a booster club per se, but you know, my parents either pay for their stuff or we fundraise for something. And then the kids that don't have money or don't do the fundraising, they can't do it. So is it, how do what if my parents decided to go to the school board and say, well, you know, this school has more things because they were able to fundraise and do more. So can you logically, I mean, I know it's not instructional, but is it fair to my athletes because they are able to bring in more money than what my athletes were able to bring in?
Yeah, well, a lot of ours, because I know our 3 high schools in our district are really, really competitive, like across all sports. Like if you can beat the other 2 high schools, you're fine.
That's how it is here.
But, you know, like when I took over 3 years ago, I mean, we were so in the negative, it was ridiculous. They weren't letting us, I mean, we had to buy everything. And so I signed up to work the Panthers game. So all 24 of my girls, we went to the Panthers game every Sunday and handed out programs. You know, and I would have dared if the other schools had said anything about that, because we worked our butts off all day on Sunday to raise that money. So I kind of, it's not like we went out and asked for donations per se. It had nothing to do with us being the wealthier school or the, you know, non-wealthy school. We actually went out and raised and worked for that money.
Right.
You know, I think it's a little bit different when you're asking for donors and things like that, because that, you know, you can't help who you know and who your parents know, and if you're the wealthier school. But, you know, that's why I always try to make the girls get out and do stuff. Like, if we want this, let's go out and work for it. But another thing with our school, like we received, I think, $10,000 because the guy on our football team last year won the National Player of the Year. And so the district did not, I mean, we didn't have to share that among the other 3 high schools. We just.
So then could you, I mean, is that something that parents could have went in and said, look, that's $10,000. Can you guys not split that across the district? You know, I mean, it's almost the same thing, essentially.
Yeah. I mean, when I read this case study, I was like, wow, there's a lot of like gray area here.
Yeah, it is.
I think it's something like in a perfect world, yes, it would be split up fairly and there'd be an education foundation, but I feel like it's kind of more, I don't want to say like fantasy. I can't see many districts, at least 3 of ours don't do it, many districts putting this into place. I think it's kind of a good idea, but I think it's something that might not ever come to action.
Yeah, I agree.
Well, you know, I mean, I guess just from like trying to be on the school board and like looking through their lens, I mean, you're not going to turn down any sort of money that a school is willing to go out and either, you know, work for or get donors for. So I'm almost wondering if it's kind of, they don't want to put anything in because, hey, if we want to get a donation of $10,000, I'm not going to turn that, you know, and if we had to, you know, disperse that among the 3 schools, would they still have gotten it? You know, like, are you going to work as hard to raise money if it's not all for you? You know?
Yeah, I can
Right.
definitely see parents making that argument. 'Cause I think part of when parents sometimes donate to PTSA things, they know that that's going to go to something that their student will experience that year. And so, yeah, I think you're right. Some parents might not donate as much or be as active. They knew it wasn't directly going to their student or students.
Right.
Yeah, that's true. That
It's
is
a
true.
shame, but I can see a
Yeah,
lot of parents making that case.
absolutely. Yeah. Oh wow.
All right.
Yeah.
Did we talk about all 2 questions? All 2.
I think it was, yeah, did parents have a valid case and what steps should the school board take? Yeah.
And I think we actually kind of talked about both sides. Like the parents of the lower end have a valid case, but also like what we just kind of talked about, if you're out there raising that money, the other school, they have a valid case also because they raised it, they worked for it. So why shouldn't their kids take advantage of it,
Yeah. Yeah. I think both ways. I agree.
Okay.
All right. Any other thoughts?
Nope.
We good?
I think we're
I'm
good.
good.
All right, Terry, enjoy your breakfast.
Thank you.
All right, bye guys.
Bye bye.